Hey, this is Eyal from No State Project Israel. Today is 8th of July 2017, and I've just seen a video by Adam Kokesh speaking about how we need and can unite the freedom movement. And well, the way I see it, it's not so possible. The reason is the freedom movement is divided on many issues. One of them, the latest one and maybe the biggest one, is the issue of closed and open borders. While if the difference of opinion was just about different intellectual conclusion, if people would maybe have some different information, if there was a discrepancy between the information one group has and the other, and they would reach different conclusions, or maybe one group of people has a better logic, better ability to reason, and they reach a different conclusion. Or maybe it's not an issue of logic and facts, and it's just about political opinion, and they have like two different, equally good solutions. Then there would be a way to unite the movement and just accept each other, say, okay, we both want the same thing, but we have different ways to get there, and we need to be united. That's all good. But here's the issue. It's not like half of the movement has different political preferences or opinion or solution to the same problem. The real problem is that half of the movement are childish, infantile, annoying bastards who just want to annoy and appear smarter, arrogant and condescending assholes who are, they don't see the problem with alienating people who are of the other group, of the other half of the movement. It's not about being right and wanting to convince the other side, the other half of their position. They're just childish, and they want to condescend, and they will remain arrogant, and there's nothing we can do about it. They will keep trying to condescend no matter what. Even if you say, okay, let's make peace, let's work together, let's unite, let's shake hands, they're just going to take it as an opportunity to condescend even more. Like, you're the guy who is not willing to work together. And, they got this drive, this childish drive to be the winner, no matter what, no matter if they can prove their argument or not. And that's why they are not trying to prove their position from first principles, but rather they're trying to mock and ridicule the other side and avoid taking a strong and clear position. But they're happy to blame the other side when he thinks, I'm the other side, and I can only speak from my own personal experience, and each time I'm trying to point out the problems with the guys who support open borders. Well, they keep saying, oh, that's not what I'm supporting. So you can't really say what they support, but if you try to not guess, but if you try to infer what is their position from all the things they write, then you get a certain position that you think that this is what they're trying to advance, and then they say, oh no, this is not my position, you're attacking a strawman. But when you ask them, okay, what is your position, they kind of dodge the question. They try to dodge and evade the question, and this is really not going to work. So do we really need to unite the movement? Well, I don't think so. I don't think we have to bother about it, because people who are childish tend to, after a while, they tend to, at least in many cases, they tend to grow up, and they will catch up. We can keep on moving and doing what we do best, and those childish, infantile anarchists, they will catch up. They will join us. They will see that the opposition is idiotic, and that it's really not getting them anywhere to try to condescend and make an appeal to ridicule and say that the other half of the movement is not consistent with the principle of freedom, that we need to open the border and we need to stop being afraid of Muslims, because the chances of you dying from terror attack are way, way, way smaller than the chances of you getting a heart attack or dying in a car accident. And this is a completely idiotic position to hold, to say that that there's nothing to worry about terrorism because your chances to die from terror attack are small, because two reasons. One, the reason that your chances to die from terror attack is small is because you have a border. Right? You don't like it, but there aren't that many terrorists because they cannot get into your country. That's one reason your chances are really small to die from a terror attack. And if you don't believe if you think that it's not really the border that makes the difference, then why don't you try to move to one of the Islamic countries, and there are a few of them who will execute you if you criticize their religion. So if you if you want to communicate your ideas about atheism or anarchism and atheism, you're going to get executed. And it's not one or two or three countries. There are actually 13 countries that execute gay people. And atheists, even in much more moderate Islamic countries, you still get a harsh punishment for expressing secular sentiments. So, as an anarchist, and maybe as an atheist, or at least as someone who likes to express ideas and to challenge authority, you wouldn't be able to do it in an Islamic country. And the only thing the only difference that makes you able to express those ideas is the fact that you gotta hate to admit it, but the Western governments are much better than the Eastern ones. So yeah, I mean, they're still bad. They're still a cancer, but they're a way smaller and less harmful cancer than the Islamic governments. Now, as you know, the reason you have a government is because you have statists. You have a statist majority. If the majority of people would be anarchists, we wouldn't have a government. So it's not just about the few bad people who do all this evil stuff. It's about the majority of people who support the government. So you have a majority of people who support a Western government, and you're living among them. And on the other side of the world, there are a majority of people supporting an Islamic government, which is much worse. So those people are much worse. Now, sure, your chances to die from a terror attack today in the US in Arizona or Texas or California or wherever you are, the chances are really, really low. Like less than your chance to die from a piano falling from a high floor on your head. But that is actually an argument for closed borders, because if you would be outspoken anarchist and atheist or gay person out of the closet in an Islamic country, then your chances to die from Islamic terror would be about close to 100%. The other reason why this position that to argue that it's not such a big problem, the other reason it's ridiculous is, well, if you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you, oh, I'm truly sorry, I've discovered cancer, you have cancer, don't worry, there's treatment, there's a 50-50, I won't lie to you, the chances are so-so, there's a 50% of healing and 50% of dying, it's a difficult treatment, you'll have to go through chemotherapy, and so on, and so on. Well, on that day, your chances of dying of cancer are much smaller than your chances of dying of a heart attack or from in the hands of a cop, from police brutality, or to be killed in a traffic accident. Because you know scientifically that this cancer still needs a few months to get you. It won't kill you today. So yeah, so let's say you discover a cancer and there's like a treatment for it, but if you won't take the treatment, there's really statistically a very high chance that you'll die. If you take the treatment, there's a somewhat 50% chance that you'll stay alive, but it won't kill you today and it won't kill you tomorrow. Still, your chances to die tomorrow from a traffic attack, from traffic accident, or from police brutality are much higher. Does it mean that you're going to waste the next month of your life worrying about police brutality and completely disregarding your cancer? Because Islamic terrorism and Islamic jihadism and Islamic politics is a problem, is a threat, is a serious threat, and it's a growing threat. It's an expanding and growing threat. It's not going to go away. It's not going to stop itself. The only way to stop it is, the only way it's going to be stopped is if something from outside stops it. Now, yes, I agree that the government is not doing the best job, but if we are going to open the borders, then they're going to immigrate. They're going to come, and then the problem is probably going to increase. So anyway, the argument of saying, oh, it's such a small problem, is not a good argument. It's not a good argument. You don't say, oh, it's such a small problem, I have a small cancer, so I still have a higher chance tomorrow to be killed in a traffic accident, so I'm going to worry about all the other problems like traffic accidents, police brutality, and all this stuff until the day I really, really, really have a bad chance against the cancer. So if you have a cancer, knock wood, you want to treat it immediately because you understand that it's an expanding and growing problem. Unlike heart attack, which is mostly it's a problem that is kind of like it's not an expanding problem. There's a certain ratio of people that will get a heart attack. We know the numbers. We know that smoking makes it worse. We know that doing sports and being more active and eating healthy reduces the risk of a heart attack, but there is still the risk of heart attack, but it's not an expanding and growing problem. Islam is. Now, there are 2.2 Muslims in the world. There are more than 13 Islamic countries, some of them big, that are really, really scary, right? So you don't want to, and it's not about feelings, it's not about I'm afraid, it's not, my feelings doesn't matter. What matters is there an actual threat? And this is another silly, completely idiotic argument that those open borders supporters and Larkin Rose and his fans keep making, is pointing out my fear. Well, if my fear is not based on a real threat, then it's really silly for me to want to violate the non-aggression principle just because I'm afraid. But if my fear is valid and appropriate and there is a real threat, then you pointing out my fear is a non-argument. The argument is not how I'm feeling, it's not about my feeling, it's about the threat. And so far I haven't heard one serious argument or about I haven't heard Larkin Roses or any of the outspoken open borders people speak about the Islamic threat and some kind of tactic to handle, to some kind of solution for that threat. Like, what's your position? Do you agree that Islam is a threat? That do you agree that it's not going to stop itself? It's not going to reform itself unless there is pressure, serious pressure from outside. And even then, we don't know if it's going to reform itself. We don't know if it's possible for the Islamic world to reform itself. Maybe the only chance is to secularize it, to throw as many people as we can out of that religion. I don't know. Maybe there is no solution to it. In a way, it's like feminism. Is feminism going to stop itself? No. There needs to be a force outside stopping this expanding, poisonous human virus. So yeah, I know a lot of Muslims. I live in an area that is populated by maybe 50% of the population here are Muslim. As you know, I'm living in Israel, and I'm living in an area that is actually half-half. Half of the people are Jews, half of them are Muslims, and there's also a Christian minority. So I have Muslim friends. And more than just the friends, I meet Muslims every day at the store, at the greengrocer, at the grocery, everywhere. Everywhere I go to the pharmacy, I go to every store I go. I mean, it's all around me. I live among Muslims, and they are nice people, and I'm really pro multiculturalism. I think there's a lot of benefit that both cultures can benefit from each other. There's a lot of good things about Muslims as people, and there's a lot of good things about their culture. But I understand, and this is completely out of sympathy and caring for them, that I rather speak about the problem and cause some inconveniences than minimize the problem and ridicule everybody that speaks out about the problem. This is not helping Muslims. If you're going to ridicule all the people that are afraid of Islam, and you're going to say, oh, what are your chances to die in a terror attack? More than to die of a heart attack. If you're going to minimize the problem, you're not helping Muslims. Yes, you're helping them in the very short term to feel better. You're helping them to get over the anxiety that they feel today when people speak about the problem of Islam. But in the long term, you're acting in their worst interest. You're not acting in their best interest. Forget about it. You want to care about Muslims. You want Muslims to have freedom. Then you need to talk about the problem today. You need to put everything on the table and tell them, look, I'm afraid, and this is serious. This is a serious concern, and I'm not going to minimize the problem. This is if you care about Muslims, if you want them to grow out of Islam. But if you're just about ignoring real-world threats and making half of the liberty movement appear ridiculous, or just trying to ridicule them, I mean, all you do is you appear stupid, and when you talk about, oh, you're not principled, you're actually the guy who's not being principled, because you're completely ignoring all the principles of a critical discussion, and you're committing so many evasions and the logical fallacies, and you completely drop all the principles of a fair and critical discussion, while you're accusing us of being unprincipled because you don't like the conclusion that we've reached. And you do so many, I'm speaking about Larkin Rose, but it's actually, my words are targeted at anybody who holds his position and agrees with him. Look, on the question of moral principles, we all agree. Initiation of violence or aggression is wrong. We agree on that. Stop lying and saying that we don't agree on that. This is the moral principle. The behavior of aggression is immoral one. It's undesirable. It is no excuse for that. On the moral principle, we agree. What we don't agree on is on the practical question. And the practical question means, is this case of aggression in these circumstances? And we have to evaluate the entire complicated situation with all the circumstances. We cannot do away with the 99% of the circumstances that we deal with and just say, oh, well, is it okay to initiate force against someone who's crossing an imaginary line? No, then I'm right and you're wrong. No, this is not dealing with the practical question. The principal question is about dealing with behavior. When you want to evaluate a moral principle, then you have to evaluate the behavior by itself without any special circumstances. Just the behavior. Is aggression good or bad or neutral? After you've established that the behavior of aggression is immoral, now you know that the behavior has a negative moral value. Now you can use that knowledge to evaluate practical questions. Now, when you go to evaluate practical questions, you have to evaluate the actual circumstances. You have to evaluate actual reality. You cannot change reality and say, oh, it's an imaginary line and someone is crossing it. No. This is not dealing with a practical question. This is just strawmanning the argument. So if I'm saying, oh, we need a border with Gaza, we need to surround Gaza with a fence, and you're strawmanning my argument, and you say, oh, is it okay to initiate violence against someone crossing an imaginary line? No, the argument is Gaza. The argument is Hamas. The argument is Hezbollah. The argument is ISIS, Iran, Syria. That's the argument. Okay? You cannot strawman me and just make it like some kind of like a generic thing, like an imaginary line between two peaceful people. No. We have to actually evaluate this situation. And it's not about is it okay to initiate violence against one person who wants to cross the border but is peaceful. We have to consider the entire complexity and consequence. What if I say, okay, you know what, I don't want to prevent an innocent person, a well-intended person to cross the line, so I'm just going to let everybody in as long as they don't try to shoot me. when I do that, there is no border and I'm not dealing with the actual threat. So we need to actually find a way to deal with the threat. Now saying, oh, you just carry guns and you're not connected to reality. There was a guy in France, in Nice, and he took a truck a year ago, or 2 years ago, a year ago, and he took a truck and he ran over something like 70, 80 people died and 400 people got injured. Some people lost their legs and their spine was broken, and people are permanently now handicapped. 80 people lost their lives. Families miss them forever, gone, because one Islamist idiot. I mean, this is a big problem. You cannot do away with the problem by saying, oh, well, they'll just disappear, but it's our government. This is not being serious. And half of the freedom movement will not have a serious, mature, and honest critical discussion about real-world threats. So, no, there's no way to unite idiots with non-idiots. They are actually harming the freedom movement by making the idea of anarchy look way more impractical than what it is. I have intelligent friends who I'm trying to convince of the anarchist position, and when they see that half of the movement are supporting this idiotic idea that you can just do away with the borders, that makes them more far from accepting the idea that we can do away with the government, because they think it goes. They think that it means doing away with the borders. And even when I say no, half of the people think that we should have borders, but still no government. What they see that half of the body of intellectuals that I'm pointing to are holding ridiculous ideas. So what we should do is not unite the movement, the liberty movement, but rather we have to make the gap even bigger and bolder, and we have to put an emphasis on the difference. There's a big difference between uncoms and uncaps, and now we have the open border anarchists, and we have the closed border anarchists, and we need to make the difference more visible. So, no, I don't want to unite the movement. Yes, I mean, I still think Larkin Rose did a great job with explaining the problem with government and how ridiculous that is. But hey, now it's being completely silly, and the people following him and cheering for his ideas of open border are actually avoiding an honest discussion. So, no, we don't need to unite the freedom movement. Those who are being silly now, if we keep ignoring them and increasing the gap and maybe making the distinction between us and them more clear, they might actually want to move to our side of the movement when they see that their side consists of mostly people who are not so intelligent, who have to stay. I don't know, maybe they will stay like feminists who don't want to have a critical discussion about their beliefs. I don't know what will happen, but there's no way to bridge the gap. There's no way to make the movement unite more than there's a way to make feminist and men's rights activists unite over the idea of, hey, we all want equality. No. And those people on the movement who promote open borders, they are consistent with and very stubborn with avoiding an honest discussion about the actual reality, and they always keep confusing moral theories with practical questions. Moral questions, practical questions. They always return to the moral question and say that those who say that borders are needed are unprincipled. Well, the first principle is about let's have a critical discussion. If you don't have that principle, you cannot have any other principle. That's really silly. So that's it for today. I think I even repeated myself too many times. And I hope to hear your opinion on the matter. So leave a comment below. Thumbs up, always thumbs up. And if there are other questions you'd like to ask me to talk about as an Israeli anarchist, as a pro-closed border anarchist, send me the questions and I'll be happily record a podcast about it.